My next guest, UFC veteran, longtime fighter, now turned coach, and he's got just a stable of amazing fighters, including his son, AJ McKee, who picked up an impressive submission victory last week at Bellator 253. Of course, I'm talking about Antonio McKee joining me here on the program once again. Antonio, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. What you talking about, coach? Retire? I still fight.
That's true. You're still active. You still haven't technically retired. You're right. I got to put that out there. Just a long layoff from the last fight, I guess. But let's start first with AJ. I mean, that's been the talk of the town since that last Bellator card. Were you expecting him to finish that fight that quickly? We know the weakness of Caldwell on the ground, but just how impressed were you with AJ's performance?
I mean, as a dad, yes, but I'm not impressed. I'm not entertained by this. I've been telling people this for the last 3 years. This kid is different. You guys don't understand. I know he's my son. You're not giving me the credit. You're not giving him the credit. But I'm telling you, he's different. He's not like everybody. I've trained everybody. He's on a whole nother level. And what were we worried about a wrestler? Holding him down? I mean, I'm the best at that. There's nobody that can hold somebody down better than me, right? And put the fans to sleep. So we're not worried about that at all. That's the last thing we're worried about is a takedown. I was more concerned about him getting caught with something where he's just so confident in every fight. He knows he's going to knock him out. It's not going past 2 rounds. And he has that confidence. But he's been built with that. You know, as a child growing up, I would always tell him, you're going to be the best fighter in the world. Rampage, we were sitting on his couch. He was 5 years old. And I told Rampage, I said, he's going to be my revenge to the sport. I go, right now, it's not enough money for me to sacrifice my mental health. And I have my reasons for fighting the way I fought, but it's a little different now. I was able to coach him to be very elusive. You don't know what you're going to get. He's good on the ground. He's good on the feet. I don't have 1,000 coaches in my ear. I just have my son, and it's me, and we work.
You certainly do, and the results speak for themselves. I wanted to ask you, heading into the fight, some of the challenges with, being the pandemic, getting all the testing done, and then you've got 3 guys on this card. You've got AJ, you've got Joey Davis, and you've got Baby Slice. How was that different compared to other fight weeks?
It was no difference. Remember before when we were kicking everybody's ass, the body shop has been around. It's just I didn't suck dick, to get on networks. I didn't care about magazines coming in writing articles. I was more about the heart and the love of the training and fighters. I don't care about the politics in the sport. Mm-hmm. I just want to do what I enjoy doing, and that's coaching and being the best coach in the world now. I'm too old to go and be the best fighter in the world. But as far as anything else, I just want to be the best coach in the world. And, people can't get upset for me loving. I love. And this is my way of showing love. So if they can't handle some of the conversation I say, I'm no different than Donald Trump. I speak what I feel.
You do.
You have the right to voice your opinion.
I'll
debate with anybody in MMA.
Okay.
I've seen it all.
What, as a coach, I know you're sort of scouting, I'm sure, what else is going on. I asked AJ this. I'll get your impression as well. What was your impression of both Pitbull's win and Emmanuel Sanchez win on the other side of the brackets? I'm sure you're keeping an eye on that.
I mean, it's just bad style. They're old school 1, 2, 3 kicks, sit back in the pocket, bait him in, throw the right hand. One just he's sporadic ADD. He just but he ain't been hit yet by somebody that knows how to punch. If AJ hits him, all that's going to change. If AJ kicks him, all that's going to change. This kid has power. I've been working on his power and speed and timing, I would say, for the last 4 years, and I've actually developed a really unique training system that works for other fighters because of the fighters that came to me. You've seen Aaron Pico, 4 knockouts in a row, and then, he leaves and then he gets knocked out, and there's a bunch of other stuff that happens. But nevertheless, to say I got it. Working with a lot of great fighters. I just don't choose to say anything. I don't want accolades for being their coach. Mm-hmm. I'm my son's coach in Team Body Shop. So when people scout me to do work for them, like they say, look, I want to be faster. I need to hit harder. I go right to work. I give it to them within 3 weeks. They're gone. I get paid.
Well, do you have other fighters that you work with that we don't know about that just they're kind of like, hey, we want the help, but I know you're not about the recognition. You're about the fighter getting the shine, so to speak.
Yeah, you know what? I work with Tyron Woodley on and off. I think we should be doing more on than off. Get him back on track. I worked with Chuck, which was great. the problem with this is I get fighters that are broken instead of fighters that are already there. Like, I see a lot of guys that are at that level right now, but they're not being coached at that level. I'm telling you, these guys that are winning, and some of these coaches just don't know the fuck they're doing. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But if you understand the injuries behind this sport, you may want to reconsider when you send that fighter out to fight every time. This is not a forgiving sport, you know, and there's damage done to your body. You may get away with it now, but when you get in your 40s or 50s, you're not going to be able to walk. You're going to need neck surgery. You're going to need back surgeries. My son's had more injuries in his 2 years of fighting than I had my whole career. But he's a different type of fighter. He makes way more money as well. But they're paying more money now. So the sport's evolving. The coaches have to evolve too.
Yeah. No, you bring up a good point. Yeah, and you're sort of the catalyst for this. I mean, you're in phenomenal shape at your age, and you're still, you know, you fought last year. You look great. Do you find that a lot of fighters are coming to you now and saying, "Hey, what's the secret?"
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of that, and I'm very selective who I work with. Again, I don't work for the money. I work for the passion and the love. The money is just a bonus. I'm writing a book called The Fighter's Secret.
Are you really? Awesome.
Yeah, it's called The Fighter's Secret. I was writing this book 15 years ago. 20 years ago. I think it was about 15 years ago when the IFL was going. Remember, there was a lot of stuff I was doing back then. I was just too far ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I was also training my son at the same time then. So, like, he's doing what he's supposed to do. In fact, I think he's making it a little hard on himself. He can actually finish everybody when he wants to. He's out there. You see how calm he is? He's relaxed. He's not out there trying to get it. He's not aggressive. But that's kind of the nature of a person he is. He's a good person. He's a good, loving person. So, you know, I did something right.
No, I'd say so. And I'd say he's very humble as well, too. You think of all the opportunities he has now. You know, I was telling him in the last interview, you know, Michael Chandler leaves. I think there's a great opportunity for him to become the face of Bellator if he isn't already. And then on top of that, he signs with CAA. There's a lot of opportunities for him outside the cage with his brand. And I know we were talking about money. That's half of it as well, is utilizing your brand. I think he's doing a great job of that. And he's not this kid who's going out and, you know, skipping practice and partying and doing all this stuff. Like, I guess you must feel proud as a father to know that you've installed some good values in him where he's not doing all that stuff like a John Jones and getting in trouble.
You know what? I live by example. A lot of people have their opinions, but if you really know who I am, like, you know where I am, and you know the passion, the love that I have, the father that I am to many, not just him. I mean, I'm fathering 8 or 9 different people. If anything, I've been selfish to him because he didn't get all of me. I've spread myself out so thin, but I've seen it all. I mean, you know, he's just amazing. He's an amazing human being. He's an amazing athlete, and it sucks because he's my son. So when I'm bragging about him, they're like, "Yeah, of course, that's your son." But when he's pulling off knockouts on guys that have never been finished, like when he knocked out Georgie, before Georgie was McCappa. McCappa never been finished. I had a $30,000 bet. He gets knocked out in the first round. McCappa goes to sleep in the first round, not just to knock out. Okay, Georgie, and they going past the first round. What? Georgies don't get finished in first. Okay, then it's like we're constantly battling the yeah, you know. And I said, son, don't worry, just stay humble, keep doing what you're doing, and it's just a matter of time.
When they talk about some of the top coaches in MMA, does it bother you that you don't get brought up in that conversation with the work you've done with some of your fighters, or do you not even care about that? I know it's not about the money. And by the way, I got to point out one thing about the money too. I don't think people remember this. Did you not give part of your purse last year to your opponent because he missed weight and you thought it wasn't right? Yeah. See, I think people forget about that.
I thought it was bullshit that the commission gets a half of it and the fighter gets the other half. Why does the commission get half? They didn't do anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're taking away from the fighters. So I said, man, look, don't worry about it. I'll give you your money back. I mean, there's a lot of things that I wish I could do. Yeah. There's a lot of the platforms that I wish I could stand on and help them create this to be a successful sport. Because right now it's still entertainment. When you have a Conor McGregor that can come over here and disrespect somebody's religion, disrespect somebody's wife, their kids, their family, and then throw a chair through a window, injure people. Like, where could I go as a human being and do that on earth? Oh, I know. But because you're the cash cow, you know, I just think we need to really just clean this up. It's bad enough that it's such a barbaric sport. You know, the job is for me to beat you up and hurt you and maim you, and you knock me out or choke me out. It's just an ugly game. Let's clean it up and make it a sport and make it a sport of entertainment. That's fine, but it's ugly. As far as me not being the coach, look, they know who I am and they know what I create. I've worked with nothing but the best fighters in the world my whole career, from Vitor Belfort, from Dan Henderson. I've trained the best, most elite fighters, and I didn't even know what I was doing. Now I know what I'm doing. Thank all those people that gave me the time to work with them. But I'm on just a whole different level now. The way I see the fights, from the sparring and the conditioning. A lot of fighters are going into fights with concussions. They're broken up. They're beat up. My fighters go out there, boy, they're ready to go. They're ready to go. And there are no steroids. We're not taking PDs and all that stuff that these other fighters are taking, shortcuts. It's going to affect them when they're in their 40s or 50s. They're going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah, and I think there's some fighters you're kind of seeing that anyways. Don't need to mention any names here, but I wanted to talk about the two other guys on the card. Let's start first with Baby Slice. I know not the result he wanted, but he's made tremendous strides since working with you. What was sort of your takeaway from that performance last Thursday?
You know, Baby Slice came to me and he couldn't fight. Everyone knows that. It was like he was like the laughing stock of his dad. Over the years, he's made tremendous changes. He's become a man of God. Stop smoking drugs, weed, and I call it a drug when you don't need it and you do it. Just a vibrant, amazing human being. The problem here was he has to learn the ins and outs of how to be a fighter, and I think he ate too much. He ate so much, and I mean, like, I don't even know how he finished two T-bone steaks and he finished two steaks and then a ribeye. And then he had breakfast in the morning. When a snake does that, that snake has to relax and it has to digest its food. He went to bed on a way too full of a stomach. And then he got up and ate another big meal. I think he was in a coma. You ever heard of comatose?
Of course. Yeah, I've had plenty of food comas in my time.
Yeah. Because he's extremely tough and powerful in the gym. And for me to see him, if you watch all his fights, he's never not fought. He's always went out there to fight. And I'm like, I thought I did something wrong in camp. So immediately I wanted to know, look, are you okay? What's wrong? Then I'm talking to him in the inside of the cage. He's not even breathing hard. I'm like, wait a minute, you're not even tired. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're throwing these kicks. You're not following up. You're not doing any combos. Like, you're doing everything we worked on in pieces. What's wrong? And immediately I wanted to talk to him and figure it out because I still had Joey left and then I had AJ, and it was something, an adjustment I could make. I wanted to make that adjustment, but it was just lack of experience in the fight game.
Joey Davis, we got to talk about that performance. Unbelievable. Bobby Lee's a guy I've been following for a while, and he was a guy that I know would have gone to the UFC, but good on him for choosing Bellator. But that was a dominant win over a really tough guy. You must have been super proud and happy to see that type of performance from Joey Davis on Thursday.
Again, I'm happy, but I expect more. Yeah. Joey is a phenom. That was nothing what you saw. Joey is a phenom. I've been training that kid since he was 5 years old. He's 133-0. He is absolutely a monster. I would like to see him. I think right now he's top 10. But coaches, pay attention. Top 10, easy. Top 5, top 3, possible. But it doesn't make sense at being 7-8-0. His fight IQ is not ready to go on that level just yet. Even though he wins, every fight he would take damage that he wouldn't have to take damage. Once he's had about 12 to 15 fights, he's comfortable, he knows where he's at in the cage. See, this is where a lot of coaches, they just want to push the guys to go to the UFC, push the guys to go to the big paydays. I don't believe in pushing the guys to go to the big payday. I let their skill set take them to the big paydays. I let their popularity take them to the big paydays. Because at the end of the day, you're only as good as your last fight.
Yeah. No, very, very true.
And that guy was tough. And Joey made it look like he couldn't even fight. He was out there really just playing around. I asked him, are you okay? He's like, yeah, this guy's nothing. I said, well, finish him. Get the 10 bonus. I'll give you 10 grand bonus. Finish him. I'm creating incentives for my guys to go out there and just get it. Because they got another level of fight in them that most people haven't seen yet. Wait till it comes down to that fight, back and forth, back and forth. You're going to see something that's going to shock the world.
I'm excited. You mentioned a top 10 opponent for him next. Is there anyone that stands out, or I guess you just talk with Rich and sort of see what the best option is?
Yeah, you know what? Bellator is really good at building fighters, and not only building fighters, but creating champions. And if you look at their UFC roster, it's all old school Scott Coker. I love Bellator. You know, I think that's where most fighters should go, especially if they're not the Conor McGregors, the GSPs. You know, but you may want to you have a platform to work that on there, and you don't have to compete with the promoter trying to be bigger than the fighters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dana's done a great job with the UFC. I think he's done a great job. But, you know, again, my personal opinion, I think he wants to be a fighter, always wanted to be a fighter, so now he wants to be popular like a fighter. So he says these things and does these things that are outlandish. But at the end of the day, it's about the fighters. And so, you know.
I agree. Like saying he didn't know who Patricio Pitbull was, but he signs Michael Chandler.
He knows. And see, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I know. Well, like, people see through that. I mean, it's crazy.
Take your bullshit. No one's interested in it. Let's stick to the fight game. You're a great promoter. You built the UFC to be where it's at. I completely understand it, but as a human being, I think you're an idiot. That's my opinion. You may say something about me. I can accept that. Mm-hmm. I don't get butthurt. I'm like, well, that's your opinion. I agree. But you can go ask 1,000 people to tell you great things about me. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be the bully coach. I just want to just be the best that I can be for the best people that are around me that they can be. I want to make them the best that they can be. And why is everybody so upset with that? So what? I believe I'm a Republican.
I was going to say, you reminded me of, and this is something we talked about before, when you fought in the MFC. I always loved when you fought for them because Mark Pavlich loved you, and it was so cool that he understood sort of the side that I think a lot of other people didn't, which was that not only, you know, your fighting style, but obviously your personality as well, too. That was always, I remember, I know this is something we talked about, but I know there was kind of like a fond memory for you was fighting for them.
You know what? Mark gave me the platform to be sexy, and he told me that, and I said, I'll be your champion. You won't bring anybody in to beat me. But I tell you what, at the end, they had an issue with my style of fighting, right? Mm-hmm. So I put a wager up. I said, listen, you guys have pissed me off so much that if I don't knock this guy out in the first round, I'll fucking retire from MMA. I finished the guy in the first round.
That's right, yeah.
Open. And remember what they did? They called it timeout. I split the guy's head open and you call it timeout? Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the tape. I dealt with a lot of stuff that no one knew about, and I was still able to fight. If you got a problem with me as a fighter, if the networks need me to start finishing people, give me an incentive. Yeah. You guys are giving me pennies on the dollar, and I'm your champ. You want me to be exciting? Let me tell you something. You wave some money in my face. Either I'll get knocked out or I'll knock them out or I'll finish the fight. But, you know, you got to be respectful as a human being and come talk to me. Don't get behind cameras, behind closed doors and say shit about me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what hurts because I'm out here giving everything I got. Yeah, I probably could have tried to finish more fights, but I wasn't there to try to finish fights. I was there to get an easy payday. Go 5-minute rounds, take a guy down, and don't get hit one time. I love that.
Yeah.
But if you say, you know what, you're going to get a bonus, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, there's a way for me to do that. Just communicate with me. Is there something wrong? Communicate.
That's going to be my last question. Are we going to see you fight again? Because you fought last year. You look in great shape. Is that something you talked to Scott Coker about?
You know what? The fights now have to make sense. First of all, my son's important. My guys are more important than me. But I would absolutely love for my son to coach me. And I mean, you guys don't even understand the feeling. It's not about the money. I told Bellator that. It's not about the money. The fact that I'm a dad. And if anybody has kids and they understand the nature of what we do for a living as far as a fighter, there's nothing better feeling than having my son on the other side of the ring tell me what to do. And I pioneered him to be where he's at, being able to coach him to what he does. The relationship is unbelievable that you share with your own son. But more than anything, I want it to be something that people around the world can see, a father and son. Not your typical job, but to really see a father and son functioning, especially as black men. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of people bragging about, oh, black men take care of their kids or they're great fathers. I want people to see that, like, look, yeah, this man is a good man. And then I want to mentor other fathers to be good fathers.
Yeah, well, you're certainly doing a great job of that. The proof is in the cage. And Antonio, I want to thank you so much. We could have gone for like an hour here today. I love chatting with you, man. We got to do this more often.
Yeah.
Just remind people, anything you want to plug, any social media, any sponsors, anything from the gym. I'll give you the last word here, sir.
You know what? I just want to thank everybody that's supporting my son and supporting the movement. And I call it the Bellator takeover. And I told Scott Coker 5 years ago, I'm going to take over Bellator. You'll see. I've got some of the best fighters in the world. I've always had the best fighters in the world. It's just unfortunately I didn't get to climb into those platforms at that time. But guess what? You're going to see what I'm going to do in Bellator. And if the UFC wants to get some of this taste, we can go into the UFC and my guys can go over there and shine as well. It doesn't matter where we're at. We're going to shine because I know what we put into it. And I'm just thankful that, guys like you give us an opportunity to come on and express ourselves so the world can see it and we're not being hidden or shelved. Thank you, man, for what you do for the sport and what you do by allowing us to come in and just, be who we are. I appreciate you more than I appreciate myself.